So one of the trickiest parts sometimes of sewing can be stitching the ditch, but making sure that it looks both neat from the top side so you don't see the stitching, and also from the bottom side making sure that the whole seam gets caught, everything's closed right, and that it stays even. So one way you can do it, but it can take a lot of pins, is just to pin as close as you can to your seam line here where you're stitching and making sure that this stays even. Personally, I think if you hand baste as well, you can actually have far more control over where the fabric is going, and then you'll get a much neater finish. So I have a contrasting rayon thread here, which is just a little bit more slippy, but any sort of thread will work. And it means, basically what this means is that you can control both sides as you're going. So if we start here at the bottom, I'm just going to go through here a few times to hold it in place. So you can come right up through the seam line. And then when you go back in, you can make sure that you're catching your underneath side. And this method will be the same that we use for the collar stand. So you can just sort of see here, you can get your stitching in a much more straighter line. So you can see this stitching here is running right along there, and then and it does add an extra step, but I think for something as visible as the front placket and something that can be as tricky as the collar stand, it is worth taking your time here just to get this extra right. The other option here is also just to top stitch it, which you would get with a lot of shirt plackets anyway. And the finished result is, so I have actually used yellow stitching here, which is fairly few spots. Well, it's a little bit more visible, but on the reverse side we have a much neater line of stitching here, where everything's been caught, nothing's slipped out, nothing's moved. And there we go.